Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Defense Technology Talks, or your future and current operations update programming. I'm Rob Robinson, your host, along with my colleague, Bob Burton. It is Cyber Awareness Month. So if you're not aware of that, you need to be. And funny that we say that, but our offices actually have some spoofing emails that are going around. So you are vulnerable, even though you may go through all the cyber protections, have a VPN, and have all the other protections in place to protect your intellectual property and your communications. But cyber operations are important. But without further ado, I'll pass it over to Bob to talk about CyberQuest, because there is a new broad agency announcement coming out this month. And if you are a cyber professional or a technologist that deals with cybersecurity, you may want to put your name in the hat. But I will toss it over to Bob. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Rob. All right. How's it going, everybody? Like Rob said, we're about ready to wrap up Cyber Month, Cyber Awareness Month. Hope you can join us for our in-person coffee call at the First Flight Venture Center this Friday. We're going to have some small business cyber innovation, hear from some of our small companies in the North Carolina innovation ecosystem. But every week we try to come together and look across the federal technology landscape, scanning and nesting to current operational needs, looking at the critical and emerging technologies list, and where the dollars are programmed and where they're going. And if you're in the cyberspace, you really should take advantage of CyberQuest and the fiscal year 23, which started 25 days ago. Remember, October 1st kicks in the new fiscal year. That's new government spending allocations and programming for the year, and that ends on September 30th. So for CyberQuest, you've got until November 4th to submit your white papers. It's an annual Army-focused warfighting experiment. I'm sure Rob can talk a little bit more about that, but it's absolutely key to understand that the Army ties requirements to warfighting concepts, obviously current operations on the ground, in the battle space. I'm sure some new requirements will be generated from what's happening on the border of Ukraine and the support that we're giving to Ukraine. Because when the adversary comes against our capabilities, we recognize that we have gaps. We have, and those turn into requirements. And those requirements get pushed out in broad agency announcements, SBIR topics, and otherwise. But for this event, the Army Cyber Command brings together Forces Command, Army Futures Command to evaluate emerging cyber, electronic warfare, intelligence, and signal solution technologies against multi-domain operation aligned critical capability gaps, as we just stated. The outcome will inform capability development requirements for the multi-domain operations 2028, organizational and operational concepts, and cross-functional team priorities. Of course, the cross-functional team is network. If you're in the cyberspace, you should be well familiar with the cross-functional team network. And then you should also be very well aware of the requirements in the Army modernization priority. But Rob, do you want to talk for a minute on the warfighting experiments and why this is so important to test capabilities in real time, even if it's just in a war game scenario?
Yeah, so those war game scenarios, it's probably one of the only times where the Army thinks about the future and not the past fight that they were involved in. So normally your doctrine looks back, and your experiments look forward. And so being able to tie yourself to an Army-focused warfighting experiment leaning forward allows you to collect all these technologies and looking at the road. And if you look at the requirement, it's for 2028. So you're looking 6 or 8 years down the line. The other part that's going on right now that people are looking at is the POM cycle. So you have a lot of senior leaders, both in the military and the Department of Defense, that are looking at ways to budget what 2028 and beyond look like. So being able to bring in these requirements and identify them before multi-domain operations in 2028, that allows you to carry forward and budget against those requirements, because again, the Army and the government does not move at the pace of technology. And so that's one of the reasons why, depending on who you talk to, some people say that we're trying to pace with China. Some people say that we're behind China. Some people will say that we're lockstep in China. Regardless of any way that you look at it, we're probably going to be in a fight with a peer competitor that has some technological advantages that they've been developing and honing over the last few years. So the best way to do it is to identify those gaps, that are available today and figure out a way to solve those problems. And I can tell you, particularly in electronic warfare, the Army's electronic warfare capability is not very robust. And everything that's supposed to be coming out is promised in 2035. So the interim step is 2028. But how do we get to 2028 and 2035 being 7 years further past that one, knowing full well that there are some capability gaps that we need? And so in order to be able to compete in multi-domain operations, you have to be able to, win at the tactical level, but you also have to be able to accelerate the integration of new technologies and new techniques, tactics, and procedures. And that's at the, the tactical level. So if you ask an operational unit on the ground, what's their EW capability? Most of them don't even know. Or those assets are national assets that are operating at the operational or strategic level that they may not have access to. Are there some programs that have made it down that far? Yes. But for the most part, you are, deficient or learning on the fly. And in today's environment, there's no reason for any military organization to learn anything, on the fly. We need to be able to present opportunities, present risks that are a result of having or not having the technology, and then being able to execute training and also planning against those capabilities today and in the future. But I'll pause there and pass it back over to Bob.
The multi-domain operations, it doesn't include just the Army. It does look at our pacing threats, as we've talked about the problem here in the past. As Rob said, it looks at the solutions down the road. How do we compete below the threshold of armed conflict, penetrate and disintegrate enemy standoff? And we could potentially see that in real time here based on what happens in Ukraine and U.S. forces commitment to support our allies there. Exploit the resultant freedom of maneuver, return to competition on favorable terms. And as Rob said, when you're up against peer and near peer competitors, it makes that extraordinarily challenging. There's a lot of resources that have to go towards that. So again, highlight this ends on November 4th. Just want to point out that all they're asking for is a white paper and a 4-block quad chart. We go over this just about every week, and it's essential that every company that wants to do business with the government, I say again, every company has a 4-block quad chart and at least a 1-page white paper, probably a 1-page, a 3-page, and a 5-page. So for example, the X-Tech search that ends on the 31st, we've discussed that in the past and at our coffee calls, that submission ends on the 31st of October, 3-page white paper. That's it. But the 4-block quad chart gets the conversation started with your technology description and then your organizational information in this case. Simple. On the white paper, all they're looking for is your technology photo, some basic POC information with multi-domain Army words. Know what those are. One, you can Google them, or two, you can set up a call with your DEFTECH team. The military problem statement is that you're trying to solve, and then what's your concept for your military employment. So you should be excellent at employing that in a commercial space. Will help you understand what the military use case is. Description, partnerships, integration and training, and then submissions for videos are always good. So again, if you're interested in submitting for this, please get with DEFTECH, but we're going to keep on moving. There's a lot happening. As everyone knows, the SBIR program has been reauthorized until 2025. At least that's what I'm tracking. So what does that mean? It means we're back on track. It means that the government is getting after basic and applied research with TRL-1 into that prototype phase stage of phase 2, and then into that commercialization of phase 3 for the SBIR program. Again, you may have seen that there will be additional scrutiny to ensure there's no foreign investments in your company or in U.S. companies that are submitting for government contracts. And that's for obvious reasons. We don't want our best tech, best ideas, best IP getting into the hands of adversaries. You can take a look across the different agencies, when their cycles are. But again, we're already getting into November. So you can see it's getting pretty sparse, I think, until the beginning of the new year, when budgetary documents are kind of settled down and they get approved. You can always go into the SBIR website, and we'll put these in these link descriptions in the chat. Go through these and see what the dates are. Look for the different organizations that we discussed here, and figure out who you want to work with. You should know by now which government agency your technology aligns with, and then also who is that alternate and tertiary, or first, second, and third force that can use your technology. For example, the Army and the Marine Corps are closely linked. Special operations will probably have an early requirement that will then be picked up by the Army and then by the Marine Corps. They usually will take advantage of what those program dollars are, what those programs are, and added additional line numbers for the Marine Corps. So you can go through here, take a look at DoD CIBR. The annual SBIR looks like it's open the beginning of the year, and looks like that goes until the end of the year. So if you haven't taken a look at the 22.4 SBIR, NES TTR, you should. HHS, Health and Human Services. I'm moving kind of fast through these, but you get the idea. You can scroll through here, do keyword searches for your particular technology, and figure out which agency you best align with. And again, that's a great time to contact your DEFTECH team. So as we let's look at the Air Force SBIR X23.4 that's open. There's two topics. Let's see, this is direct to phase 2, and then this is also a direct to phase 2. So they need something in this orbital prime that they can test. So they're in prototype stage. Make sure you go through and read through the modernization priorities as we've discussed. What are they trying to get after? Here's some of the key words. Read through their objective, their foreign military sales, and their ITARs for international trafficking of arms regulation, the description, and then phase 1 and phase 2. We're not going to go through each one of these, but just be aware that there are two topics that are open right now, and they end on 22 November. So call for innovative defense space dual purpose technologies with a clear Air Force or Space Force stakeholder need. So we'll take a peek at this one, and we'll see what their objective is here. Let's see. Defense needs, potential fit for the solution, stakeholder needs, objective. Okay, technologies for transition into the Air Force or Space Force. Remember the partnership with the Air Force Research Laboratory, and then supporting our Space Force. Maybe awarded. Topic seeks companies with capability to prototype. So there we are, right? When you hear phase 2, you already know it's a prototype for accelerated schedules based on their needs. So we can go down here and look at what their feasibility study is, and then of course the dual use application. So if you have something that you believe can support a phase 2, you're ready for prototype, or you've already prototyped, you may consider submitting for this if it meets one of these technology areas, from air platforms, battle space, biomedical, chem bio. This doesn't seem very clear to me as far as details. There may be some more information in the broad agency announcement. You can take a look through each one of these, but if you fit into any one of these technology areas, you should consider submitting to the Air Force for this Air Force X234 DCS02 topic. Remember, you've only got until, looks like this just opened up today, so you've only got until the 22nd of November. So, Rob, any thoughts on taking advantage of these SBIR topics, and kind of what you're seeing, where this is going, and then the benefit of having the SBIR reauthorization approved?
Yeah, the reauthorization of the SBIR is critical, just because, again, we harp on it all the time, and there's some people that understand it and some people that don't. But one of the things is commercial viability. So in order for you to actually attain that phase 3 CIBR, you have to have commercial viability. So direct to phase 2 is great, because that means you already have a prototype or product that's ready to go. And so you have some manufacturing, some infrastructure behind it, which is helpful. But if you're trying to do the phase 3, you have to have the commercial application. And the reason being why the government took so long at taking a look at reauthorizing the SBIR as a program is the fact that there's too many CIBR mills that are out there. There's tons of folks that are sitting there that are cranking out phase 1 CIBRs winning 25, 50,000, $100,000 at a time, but they're not producing anything. So they're just considered to be consistently inside of they're calling them silver mills, for lack of a better term. So these people are just cranking out all these phase ones and phase twos and never really getting into that phase three, which is commercial viability. And as a business, nobody goes into business not to scale their business and present their technology or present their product in a way that allows them to make money. Yes, you can make money off of grants, but it's not profit. It's grant money to continue to develop that project. So again, if you have a prototype and you're trying to capture a direct to phase two, that's great. But at the end of the day, you still need to be able to get into the phase three aspect of it. Because if you don't get into phase three, you don't have marketing, you don't have commercial sponsors or venture backers. And that makes the government not want to support you, because the government has finally come to the conclusion that if I have this person that keeps submitting over and over again for phase ones or phase two SIBRs, essentially what they're doing is they're trying to maintain their business and not actually running a business. They're running it through grants, and grants are cool, and again, it's an important part of development. It's an important part of maintaining some small businesses. However, your end goal should not be, I'm going to hang my shingle solely on the US government to make money, because the government is very, very finicky when it comes to supporting business. And so if you are a small business trying to win, the best thing that you can do is plan for the dual track as best as you can, as early as possible. And I know that that's difficult for some businesses because you don't have the manning or the supply chain to do that. But you have to consider it, because if you don't have that commercial proposal or a pathway to commercialization, if I'm the person that's reading your proposal, I'm going to be less apt to want to support it, because I know that you're literally just trying to get money out of the US government. And that's one of the things that kills a lot of opportunities for small businesses, because they're just trying to build their brand off of their work with the government. And what the government would like to see, particularly currently in today's environment, is being able to have both commercial and government viability. But I'll pause there and pass it back over to Bob.
Thanks, Rob. Great points for sure. I'm just going to cover this really quickly. Where do you get the broad agency announcement for this? When you go to the active page for DSIP, it gives you your schedule, and then you click on the BAA instructions. Why is that important? Because that tells you exactly what you're to do. So again, you have to have your SAM account, your unique identity, UEI, entity identification number. Let me go through this quick. We're going to click on this in just a second, the actual topics, and look at those quickly. But I want to note here, they lay out their strategic approach up front. They lay out their objectives for the programs. It's really important that companies read these and understand them. Also, they get into their strategy. We're not going to pull the strategies up. We've done this in the past. You pull up the Air Force S&T strategy. You look at their long-term science and technology challenges, and then you understand what they're looking for to maintain technological advantage. It's important you understand it from the perspective of the service. That way you can include that verbiage in your write-up. So Orbital Prime, again, is looking for sensors, electronics, space platforms, and you can just scroll through this and you determine which one of these you're going to submit for. Recommend take a peek at some of their references, and there's some of their keywords. Next topic, and then I'll stop after this. Direct to phase 2 for innovative defense-related dual-purpose technologies, the clear stakeholder need. For what? Ground, sea, nuclear, biological, medical, sensors, electronics, chem, biodefense, space platforms, material space. And you fit into one of these. Absolutely important you read through these and understand public works. Engineering Research Development Center. Again, their works is their innovation outreach office, and then some of the things that they're looking for. These links will be in the chat. But if you're in military engineering, geospatial research, installation of the future, warfighting engineering, commercial solution opening, and engineered resilient systems, then you should consider submitting for ERDIC works. Look at these topics quickly as we start to wrap up. High performance computing enabled advanced manufacturing. Even though there's an engineering research development center, it's really important to understand they are looking for advanced technologies. They're looking at data analytics, system engineering techniques, and looking for capabilities and So don't discount the Engineering Research Development Center and some of the technologies they're looking for. So warfighting engineer, advanced methods for additive construction. I mean, me and Rob know companies that could and should submit for this opportunity today because they do have advanced additive construction materials. Look at the installation of the future, or there's data again, digital twin modeling, artificial intelligence, machine learning, advanced analytics, all within this installations of the future for the Army. Again, a lot of this technology will have other service application, and the Army is really good at sharing with partners. Then you look at military engineering. So without spending a lot of time on these, please dig in. And if you think your solution can fit one of these technology areas, please take advantage of it. And I'm going to pull up one more time the X-Tech search because that closes next week. And if I can get it to load. All right, well, we've sent it out, but I hope we'll put the link in the chat, but I hope folks will take advantage of the X-Tech search, Army modernization priorities, and get your company in front of DoD. So Rob, I think that'll kind of wrap it up for today, but just in summary, SBIRs are back and live again. Looks like dollars are starting to get programmed towards it. The Air Force has got an open SBIR, and so does the Engineering Research Development Center with their annual BAA. So a lot of opportunities out there, and we're hoping that our companies will take advantage of it, take advantage of our services, so we can counsel you and be a part of your winning solution. All right, Rob, over to you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bob. Yeah, just really quick. Again, the SBIR cycle has been reestablished. So you have the opportunity to continue to fight for your company in that space. But keep in mind, there's a lot of lessons learned, and Bob and I can't capture all of them. So if there is any information that you guys come across that would be helpful or that you think would be better for the broader audience, please let us know so we can get it out to everybody. And again, we are always here to help. We are a phone call away. Pick up the phone, call us, and we can assist. For the North Carolina Defense Technology Transition Office, I'm Rob Robinson, along with my colleague, Bob Burton, and this has been your Federal Opportunities Update for this week. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Defense Technology Talks, hosted by the North Carolina Defense Technology Transition Office, or DEFTECH. The views expressed in this broadcast are solely those of the individual contributors. As indicated, DEFTECH does not take responsibility for those statements or opinions and accepts no responsibility or liability for any inaccuracy or omissions reported during this program. The content and interviews are fair use for instructional purposes and to build awareness for the North Carolina innovation ecosystem. The full version of this presentation has been uploaded to our Mobilize platform. Mobilize is just another free service provided to you to access more national security and business collaboration opportunities. You can sign up for more information at deftech.nc.gov. Join us soon for the next podcast coming to a platform near you. DEFTECH is a subsidiary of the North Carolina Military Business Center and receives its support from Fayetteville Technical Community College.